Alright, it looks like we are live here. So we're gonna start this off kind of like just going straight for the jugular here with this game. So one thing that is like true for me for my life is that I kind of have a strange position socially within my family. My family is like primarily actually evolutionary biologists. I am not an evolutionary biologist at all. I am I'm a science of humans kind of guy more than a science of life kind of guy. But one thing, hey, what's up, Four-Way? So we're gonna start this off by just like doing not necessarily a little rant so much as a little framing for our game that we're about to play out here. And the core of what I want to just sort of introduce to you and to get you thinking about is something called the Red Queen hypothesis. This is something that I will link down below, but it's sort of emblematic of how I think you should probably be thinking about the narrative of the game of Wingspan. I could, try to frame this game in terms where I talk about, like what you are as birds or whatever, but I think that the game ultimately produces a much more interesting and complex ludonarrative if I do not tell you what the narrative is, but rather you discover it through the mechanics of the game itself. But one thing that's really cool about evolutionary biology is that, of course, just like with history, it's you're very possible to like find different pieces of information, contradictory things that are, in correlation, suggestive. And one of the most interesting things to me is this Red Queen hypothesis. Just see here, running all you can do to keep in the same place. Like the most common example of that is the giraffe in the acacia tree. So for those of you who know your evolutionary biology, this is a theory of co-evolution, which of course, because there's going to be multiple players here, does sort of inform what's going on. But this is how like giraffes over time, they grew longer and longer and longer necks, and it was in reaction to and as a consequence of potentially the growth and change in the acacia tree. So basically what this theory hypothesizes here in regards to these two evolutionary objects is that giraffes with long enough necks could eat so many of the acacia trees, especially the shorter ones, the ones that did not have thorns or whatever. Those trees could not reproduce, which meant that the trees that were able to survive the giraffes were able to reproduce, which meant that in turn the giraffes who were not fit either evolutionarily or just through mutation, the ones that were not fit to eat the new acacia trees died off, which meant that the giraffes who could eat the acacia trees survived, reproduced. And so what ended up happening, at least observationally, is a nuclear arms race of efficiency, where each of those two species in turn is just sort of locked in a conflict with the other one over evolutionary survival. There are other interpretations of the Red Queen hypothesis and applications of it, and like really interesting things, the court jester hypothesis, which is sort of like another application of Hegel's belief of Epicureanism to science. Not to suggest that Hegel's belief of Epicureanism is like scientific or not, but it's always floating around out there. But Wingspan itself, which I think I can fix by just doing this. Yeah, there, the chat disappeared. Wingspan itself is going to be the format of this video today. So welcome back to We Play Games. I'm Walker, and here we are in Welcome to Wingspan. So this is what I would call is a tableau-based engine building card game. Don't worry too much about any of the terms that I throw at you unless you like really are curious. I would say if you are super duper curious, just like Google stuff. It's really not that hard to teach things to yourself if you want to. But this is, I think, sort of the quintessential engine builder for me. It's something that is like simple enough that I think most people can play it once they understand the fundamentals, once they understand how to interpret the data. But it is also a game that I just find therapeutic to play. Like, I don't know if Four-Way, can you hear the music? I hope you can, because it's the main advantage to playing digitally. The main disadvantage to playing digitally is I don't know why the AI takes some amount of time here, but it does take some amount of time to make some decisions. The art style is beautiful, but more than that, if you are a fan of birds, they have an app that you can use to scan the different cards to generate lore for the birds, teach you a little bit about the science. You can also get it to create bird songs, but the main reason why I own this digitally, both on it's so calm, it's so relaxing, but the main reason that I own this on digital on PC as well as on Switch is that I just really cannot stop myself from wanting to play this from time to time, and my dad is not good at this game. He wants to be good at this game, so Four-Way, you have decided to join me on let's teach my dad how to play Wingspan, so that way whenever we do family stuff that he can play. But this is an engine builder, and so that means that my strongest recommendation to you is to sort of approach it the same way that I encourage people to approach games like Humankind, where try to iterate, try to build fundamentals that communicate well with you rather than like specific objects. Because if you're just looking at specific objects and saying this thing good, that thing bad, I don't think you'll learn as well if you try to understand why. So that way when you see an object that you don't understand how to interact with it, that you'll still have fun. You'll still be able to do cool stuff. Yeah, I think this will be a fun stream. I think this will be sort of like our stream with Ashley, like trying to teach her how to play Endless Space 2. But that video did well, so whatever. But one of the first things that I want to encourage everyone to do whenever they're playing any game of Wingspan is take first, before you pick anything, we'll talk through the different rules as they come up, so that way I'm not overwhelming you with all the rules at once. But take stock of everything that exists on the board, because there are some really important pieces of information that should inform the way that you play from the very beginning of the game. One of the most important things is this little scoring track up here. Depending on what rules you're playing with, there are going to be different amounts of points here, but points really are the ultimate goal here within Wingspan. It is an engine builder. Much like Humankind, the way that you win is by having the most points at the end of the game, but the way that you get the most points at the game isn't just by trying to get points. It's trying to understand where the points come from, where the inputs for those points come from, and then how to balance your growth of inputs versus points. It's a really interesting and beautiful system, ultimately, I think. But one thing that you should also be aware of beyond just the basic fundamentals of, you don't have to get all the points at the beginning of the game, there's a lot of points later, is understanding the structure of the scoring system itself. That's something where we will have to just play it out, and you'll see, okay, is 6 points a lot? I don't know right now, right? If you're a new player, you're not going to know if 6 points is a lot or 7 points are a lot. But as you play and you pay attention to more things, you'll get a better feel for that. But always be on the lookout for points if they are not costing you the ability to grow your ability to score more points. That's a very important rule. Another important rule for Wingspan is just understanding the way feeding works. This is a biological game, and so food and the environment are just sort of like a critical element of the gameplay, unsurprisingly. But the way that food works in Wingspan is sort of like intended to reflect the feed cycle, the life cycle of birds and whatnot. Some sources of food are more plentiful than others and more desirable by more types of birds. So there are some food resources which are a little more rare. That's the berries, the fish, and the rodents. And then the worms and the grain are actually a slightly more plentiful, because you'll see here there are only 5 types of food. It is a 6-sided die. The 6th face is a second iteration of both of these crossed together. So those two are a lot more plentiful in general. This is something that you need to be thinking about from the very beginning of the game, but if you're not, if you've never played before, don't be overwhelmed by it. Just know that those two are a little more common, and therefore when you see birds that eat those, they're generally a little easier to play. That's really important when it comes to building out a tableau, not just an engine builder, but any sort of game where what you're trying to do is make a more efficient board for yourself, which is the defining feature of tableau building. Generally speaking, you want to be looking for inexpensive things. Now, we'll talk about like the different values of the different things here as we play it out, and we'll try to describe what my meta considerations are going into everything. But one of the most important meta considerations that you can make at the beginning of the game is this thing inexpensive or not? Some things like are actually just genuinely good enough to play even if they are expensive. It really does depend situationally, and I don't want to deprive anyone of learning by saying take this one thing, it's good, and not that other thing, it's bad. Also, because like I'm not a pro at Wingspan, I'll try to find a couple of really good and interesting people to pin, because there are some great content creators for Wingspan. But I love this game, and I think it's just a lot of fun to vibe. So here, what we're looking at, so at the beginning of the game, you get to choose 5 different things out of these 10 objects. You're going to be offered 5 bird cards, 5 food. My general recommendation is to find some inexpensive stuff and then resources to play it. But if you have a really high value card, it can be valuable to just hold a bunch of food to use that high value card. It really is something that comes down to the fundamentals being in conflict with the particular situation that you find yourself in, and that's where I think the beauty of the game emerges. So birds with this style nest is a card that we already have here, and that's something that I can use to inform my own play, right? Like I could take the ecologist pick, that is also I think a good source of points, but this is a good sort of source of points that kind of helps us frame and interpret what's going on here and what's going on here. All of these things with a feather next to it, that's a form of points. And so just understand that the relative value of all these things, it's complicated and impossible to describe in one single sentence. You just have to be paying attention and thinking about ways to build yourself up and then score yourself out. All right, so I think that's a good place to start with our resources. There was one more part of the equation that I really probably should have looked at before making a decision. And I'm going to say definitely should have looked at, because there's some, holy crap, there's some great cards down here. But fortunately, we kept enough food that I think I'm fine either way. But you should, honestly, you should look at everything that's on the board that's legally available to you before you make your opening game decisions. Looks like we really do want to pick up the black nested stealth if it comes back to us, because that looks like it's going to be ridiculous with our current hand. But that's something that we can kind of describe why I'm excited to be picking this card, assuming that the AI isn't a jerk. All right, let's see. Click to start turn. Excellent. All right, great. We managed to get it all the way back, and now it's just sort of telling us like what the other players are doing. We might do multiplayer of this at some point, because I do think that this game plays incredibly well on multiplayer online, but this is just like, you know, relaxing, kind of teaching people what's going on. But in Wingspan, there are a handful of different types of actions that you can take. The way that the actions are scored is through the little action cubes right here, and we'll be taking actions and assigning them to these different buckets and using those different buckets to take these sort of actions. And as we build out our tableau and cover these spots, we'll be getting more and more efficient actions. This one, the water, what I call the river, is where we draw extra birds. And when you click the draw card, you can draw straight off the top, or you can draw one of the ones in the middle. In this case, I really do want the black-necked stilt, so that way I can just, when played, draw 2 cards. Sometimes you want cards that have an activated ability. Activated abilities are really powerful because every time that the environment that they're living in gets activated, you get that action over and over and over again. So accumulating more resources by activating them over and over and over again can actually be an incredibly powerful strategy, but it really does depend, because sometimes you just get a buttload of resources up front for doing something, and that can be another tension that you create for yourself within the game. And that's like really what this game boils down to, is that much like Humankind, I think that this game is simultaneously incredibly chill and vibey while also being insanely stressful, and I love that strange pull against each other. Fourway, I hope that after you watch me play this game that you go and buy it. I swear to God that this game is outrageous. It's so good. But here what we've kept is Cooper's Hawk. Now, which order we play the birds in really is kind of up to us, but in this case I want to play Cooper's Hawk first, almost certainly, so that way we can, oh actually, you know what, maybe not. So I'm going to click this guy. So I was actually going to play the Cooper's Hawk so that way we could feed. But another important rule when it comes to Wingspan is that there are multiple ways to, you know, like feed a bird, or there are multiple ways to blah a blah. And in this case, I think it's probably more efficient for us to play this, have an extra card, come back here, grab this, Cooper's Hawk and then grab again, and then we can discard a second food. Maybe that's going to be similar to playing this and then feeding. No, it's about the same, honestly. So yeah, let's go with the black-necked stilt first. So we're going to play this. Whenever you feed a bird in Wingspan, generically you can supply the food 1-to-1 with the resource that you have, but you can also just kind of mash things together and just say, ta-da, I made a worm. So in this case, we have one worm to begin with, plus we have a grain and a rodent. I'm not thrilled to be burning off a rodent on playing this, considering the relative rarity of resources, but I think it's still worth it for us. Oh, shoot. I clicked the change button instead of the forward button. All right, done. But I think the way that this is going to play out is actually going to be advantageous for us. So in this case, I could take some of these. There are actually some good arguments for taking them, like Atlantic Puffin is just worth an absolute crap ton of points, and honestly, I might take it just because it's worth a crap ton of points. The bonus card, I'll tell you that generically do not overvalue bonus cards in Wingspan. Some of them can really work for you, and some of them can be super random, but I'm going to take definitely one for off the top of the deck, and then I think I'm going to take a Puffin here. Oh, I love this game, Max Alley. This game is incredible, honestly. Like, it's not perfect. We did not cover this when we were starting it. We are playing with Common Raven and Chihuahuan Raven, and I do also think that, like, Killdeer and the other guy are a little busted, but I'll tell you, Four-Way, if you can find this when it's on sale, you can get the DLCs, but I don't think you need to in order to just get a good idea for how good this game is. It really is a masterpiece of design. Another really interesting thing about the game is that not only are some of the birds like kind of inexpensive, some of them are incredibly inexpensive and versatile. So far we've been mostly playing birds that could live within a single biome, but different birds can live in different biomes, which of course gives them the flexibility to, kind of fill in your resource niche wherever you need to be filling it in. But this one in particular, the kite, is also great because it is so cheap that you can play it with two different kinds of things. So this is where, like, the stress and tension of playing this game explodes my soul, because I want all of the things all at once, but we have to be relatively reasonable here, so I think we're going to just go ahead and take a food for the Cooper's Hawk. But if this kite is still here at the end of this round, whenever we start getting low on actions, I might take it. And it's a real problem, honestly, that, like, there are so many sweet things to be doing, because it kind of makes it overwhelming for my dad. But I think as long as you just focus on having a plan that is both respectful of your current position while giving you outs, I think you'll end up with a lot more points, and I think you'll have a lot more fun.
Cooper's Hawks,
so we're playing Cooper's Hawk.
Birds and mammals with great stealth.
Oh, I forgot to turn off the lore, but I'm going to turn the lore off temporarily just so we're not fighting with the narrator. But I'll tell you that there's, like, lots of really cool information about birds in here if you like them. And the other fun thing, of course, is that whenever we start activating these environments where the birds live, they'll still participate in the game. They'll make noises for us. This game is just so good. Oh my god, there's a purple martin. Ugh. I don't have any eggs, so I can't ditch eggs in order to draw two, but I kind of really do want to do that. Generically speaking, if you have the ability to transform resources in Wingspan, it tends to be good for you. It does only tend to be good for you, so you have to be careful as to how you think about that. But I think here what we're going to do is we are going to take eggs. I think I'm going to chuck... Oh, wait, no, we don't want one on you. We want one on the Cooper's Hawk for sure, because this is not being affected by Bobolink or the Meadowlark. Yeah, let's just do two on Cooper's Hawk. And this is so that, like, basically what I'm trying to do is make sure that as many of my actions can be double actions as possible. This is something that's not unique to an engine builder. A lot of different worker placement games operate this way, where you have a finite number of actions, and so you want to get the most out of each successive action that you can. And sometimes doing something like this, it's tempo negative because it costs us the effort to go to this action without having a meadowlark in play, but then it should, hopefully, unless the AI is being a bully here, it should give us that tempo back if we can get both of these really good cards. Excellent, we can. All right, so we're gonna take this. Because both of these are really inexpensive and it's like the beginning of the game, I am thrilled to do this. We're gonna ditch an egg off of the Cooper's Hawk so we can take a purple martin. So now we have, like, almost everything that I feel like we need other than maybe a Chihuahuan Raven or something like that to have a pretty interesting game here with our opponents. Now, I haven't been looking at the tableaus for the other players, but I would encourage you to do this too, especially if you're just, like, trying to learn the game. Seeing what the AI is doing over the course of the game can also be helpful and instructive. So, like, here we have a predatory bird. This predatory bird, whenever we'll see it whenever we activate our own predatory bird, because we have the Cooper's Hawk, which is pretty similar to this. But this is a way for you to get extra points during each action, and that can be just as critical as anything else. So what we want to do here is do our best to try to score this without compromising our own ability to keep playing. And I think the way we're going to do that is going to be to feed and then drop in the kite here, and then we will have 2 birds in the forest. I tend to think that, and we'll see this as the game comes to a close, that the meadow in vanilla is typically the thing you want to be specializing in towards the end of the game, but that doesn't mean that you cannot do the other things. It just means you need to be careful. I don't really like Bobolink, even with a couple of these nests, simply because we do have the Western Meadowlark, and that just feels like it's going to score us a lot more points than playing Bobolink once. Oh, wait. Choose a bird. Choose from the bird feeder. Discard. That's what I'm trying to do. All right, so let's discard the Bobolink. And now let's take a rat, and I guess I'm going to take another rat. Or should I take a fish? I'm going to take a fish. I'm going to diversify our food supply a little bit. We only have one way to use a rodent right now. I want to get a worm, so that way we can use this. And I want to get a worm and a grain, so we can use this. But I just, like right now I'm solving the immediate turn problem, which is how do I get the Mississippi Kite into play with one more action. So I want to make sure I do that. Oh, and our Cooper's Hawk is activating. So what we get to do is we get to look at this. Hey, it's an American Kestrel. Excellent. So our Cooper's Hawk just flies in as a predatory bird and just annihilated that Kestrel. It's a brutal, brutal world out there in this extremely vibrant, calm video game. I'm also going to check in on yellow and see what they're up to. So no one has played any like really interesting birds yet. But there are some really interesting birds in this game. But no, not the martin. We're not doing that. We're doing the Mississippi Kite. And we're going to do it in a fashion that's going to show another kind of like important part of the puzzle here for Wingspan, which is whenever you want to build out the like deeper parts of your tableau, it costs you eggs. Whether or not this is meant to sort of like indicate mutation or whatever, interpret this however you will, old man, but it is a good thing in terms of providing a little bit of friction in the game. So we're going to pay a rodent here for the Mississippi Kite. And then, as it said, for that slot, we have to pay for this with an egg slot. So there we go. And now we've managed to get 2 birds into the forest. I hope that the last player doesn't play one. Great. So we did manage to get 4 points here. And this is just going to show us the other scoring pattern, which is if there's a tie, you add all that up, and then you distribute it out, and then you round down. So that was actually huge for us, because it meant that instead of getting 1 point from that, we got 4, and everybody else got 0. So that was a really good thing for us in terms of scoring tempo. Even though points don't matter really at the beginning of the game, if you can acquire tempo in any form, you should attempt to do so, because of what we're about to notice whenever it comes back to our turn. This game is so crazy. So now we have 7 turns left. We are in the realm of the Red Queen hypothesis. We must be more and more and more efficient because of what is happening as we play this out. You place your an action cube on that scoring slot, and then it's no longer available to actually take actions with. So your engine has to become stronger. We get to draw a card. It looks like somebody did play a bird with a cooperative element. There are some birds that do like really interesting things where if that bird gets activated, everyone else gains something. Where is this? Where are you coming from with that? Here it is, purple gallinule. So because green played the purple gallinule, everyone else is going to be able to draw cards whenever green takes this action. Don't think about these things as being exclusively bad just because they're helping the other players. If they're extremely efficient, like the Eastern Phoebe, for instance, this is a great card. Even though everyone is gaining worms from the supply, you are the person who has control over it. Therefore, you are the person who can actually get the most out of it, just like symmetrical effects in Magic. If you build your deck to reflect your control over this thing, you'll get a lot more value out of it than the other players will, because sometimes you can just turn it off and then starve other people of the resources they need to play the game. That can also be fun if you are a monster. That can be a lot of fun. And I think here we are going to go ahead and just use the efficient part of our tableau. I do want to go down here and pick up the Phoebe, probably. I just like that card generically. I think it's a good one. But I think here we can play the Western Meadowlark if we want to. We could play the Crossbill if we want to. It would be really expensive to play the Crossbill, but we'll do it at some point. And then whenever we get to a point where we're going to reset the feeder, we'll talk through the mechanics of that as well. But sometimes it's correct to want to reset the feeder. One of the nice things about the we can actually roll, because we're gonna have 3 dice here. Maybe we'll hit this. No dice this time. This ability is much worse than this one, but they're both really inexpensive, so I'm pretty happy with it either way. Look at that skill, Cooper's Hawk. I'm so proud of you. Look at you massacring the other birds out here for points and glory. But yeah, this game is so good. It is nutso. So you really should be doing your best to keep an eye on things like this juniper titmouse. This is caching food, just like, like a squirrel caching nuts or whatever. By caching extra food on the juniper titmouse, this is another source of points. There are points really all over the place in Wingspan, which is why I don't want to say focus down this one specific way to score them. I don't think Wingspan is balanced that way. I think it's balanced, in a much more productive and useful fashion, which with the exploration in the forefront. Oh, holy crap. We might be able to play the Puffin early. So one of the reasons why I don't generically like bonus cards is that if you get the bonus cards like late into the game, you can't actually get the value like reliably. But here we have an opportunity to actually show off what resetting the bird feeder looks like. So we're going to go ahead and click the forest again. So here, because all of the dice have the same face up, we're allowed to reset before we take dice. That's very powerful whenever it comes to figuring out what your turns should look like. It looks like here we didn't get a single fish, so maybe we will not play the Puffin. I wanted to, but sometimes you gotta just audible because that's where your distribution of things are. But we have a purple martin and a Western Meadowlark, and we have here the next scoring bucket, which is eggs in the meadow. So I want to try to audible into getting just like both of these probably down and like thick with eggs, so that way we can get a bunch of points. That means we need 2 worms, so we have the second worm right there. And then we just need to take another resource here. We don't have any particular utilization for anything other than maybe grains. I might honestly just bury the crossbill with the purple martin, but for now this is probably good enough. So here we're gonna roll 2 dice. Nope, no dice. Are you gonna do it, Cooper's Hawk? Are you gonna run the board? Yo! So the other thing that I think that's really fun about Wingspan is that this deck does not replenish. There are enough cards that it's almost impossible to actually deplete it all, but there are real evolutionary things in the game. Because another thing that we didn't really talk about, but at the end of the round of any full scoring round in Wingspan, all of the birds that are here in the river just get discarded. They are judged unfit either by the players or they just happen to be on the ground during a mass extinction event. But all of the birds that are there disappear from the game forever. And that tickles my evil science fancy supremely well. So I'm going to play the purple martin here. This is what is known as a flocking bird. You'll see that if you can see here on this guy, right here, the when activated symbol, that means that these are birds that fly in flocks. And we will see the power of that as we go on. We'll also, I guess we could probably describe this after we take an action here and get some eggs, then we can describe what else is going on with eggs and why the meadow tends to be so powerful in the mid and late game in Wingspan itself. But here, we do not have the ability to play the Western Meadowlark because we do not currently have any eggs at all. But we can fix that in a jiffy. We're gonna go ahead and click this. This is also the wrong style of nest for the Meadowlark, so I'm just dumping them all on here. And we'll actually spend a food to increase our efficiency here in terms of actions. And I think I'm fine just dropping a grain. I honestly think we're just gonna pitch the crossbill whenever we get to it. And the purple martin takes another one, and we will tuck the crossbill. So this is another way to get points, is that we could work on the California quail, maybe. It's the right egg nest type for the next thing. I don't think we're going to have the resources to get that down this round, probably, but that does look nice. But this is another scoring bucket. There are just there's so many different scoring buckets in Wingspan that it's not useful for me to tell you do this one thing. But there are different strategies of different strengths, and most of the time what you want to be doing is just finding your path towards those points. And your path needs to be responsive to what is happening on the board, rather than Walker just telling you, do this one thing, old man, it'll probably get you more points. You can learn how to play the game. It'll be good for you. So here we're going to play the Western Meadowlark. As I mentioned, we want to try to get this, and in order to get that, we may need to literally use 2 actions here in order to just fill these guys up with eggs, because that would get us 3. That would get us plenty of eggs, honestly. Wait. Oh, god damn it. I clicked through the Martin trigger. Oh no, I didn't click through the Martin trigger because I played the Meadowlark. That's fine. Good. I was testing to see how well you were paying attention. Yes, when you play a bird into the habitat, it's not actually activating the habitat, it's just expanding it. So that means that you're not getting the purple martin activation, but now we are. So we're gonna activate this. Because this guy can actually lay eggs on itself, we might not even need to go super duper monstrosity mode, but I'll lay 1 on itself for now, and then we'll grab, guess you guys all get eggs. Sure, yeah, we'll do that. So all players lay 1 egg on any blah bird. Oh, do we have the right? Yes, we do. All right, cool. Yes, we're gonna take this action. All players are going to get an extra egg, and then we're also going to get a second extra egg. So we're gonna put an egg here and here. Oh, and here. It has to be a different bird. There. So we got 2 more eggs, and the other players got 1. So you can see we got twice as much out of that activation than the other player. I like California quail, but it is really expensive, and although we're closing in on sort of the mid part of the game, I'm still not sold on activating those sorts of things unless we were way ahead on resources, or we knew we were going to be clicking this button 10,000 times. None of these nests really matter that much to me, but I'm going to take the bald eagle in case we get a good roll on food, because now we might even, we're ahead enough on the meadow that we might not even need to activate this, Because another important thing when it comes to like figuring out when and how to score in Wingspan is turn order. Turn order is going to be passing around for each round. So like last time, in the first round, we were third, then we're going to be second, then we're going to be first. But in this case, because there's only one action left, green is the only player who's like, I think, reasonably within shot to threaten our control for the points in the meadow, right? Yeah, I think green is the only one who could really threaten us. So we don't even have to do that. We don't have to activate this. We can do something else with our turns here. And I think I want to, so that way we're just trying to set ourselves up to get as much out of these resources as we can. So we could spend an egg in order to draw a second card. This is a really strong card as we get further and further into the game. It has no activated ability here, but you can see it's worth just a straight 8 points. You can see these are also worth a lot. 8 and 9 is a pretty good deal. And that's why I think what I'm actually going to do here is use the Black Nested Stilt. And so that way we can preserve these cards. So that way whenever we activate the Purple Martin, we don't, like, everything doesn't just disappear. Yo, what's up, Bruno? Yeah, we're having a nice, fun little relaxing playthrough of Wingspan with Walker describing the Red Queen hypothesis and like mass extinction events. You know, like just like relaxing 4X stuff. But here I think we're in a pretty good spot to set ourselves up because we do have a Martin in the meadow, and we have some nice inexpensive things at the beginning of the game. Now, none of these are things that I'm like super drawn towards at the moment. It kind of is something where it depends on what your hand looks like, but I think I'm going to take the Great Blue Heron just speculatively, because this is something you can see when played. Play an additional bird into your river. This is really strong if you have enough resources to take multiple turns simultaneously, because it's essentially spotting us a full extra action, right? Because every action, in order to play a bird, you have to spend one of your precious action cubes. You can't make that more efficient by playing a bird into your play a bird action. That just doesn't exist. I do have, I think, the European one, but I don't have it activated because, as I mentioned, Bruno, this stream, I'm happy to have other people watching, but like, I would say 90% of the personal value that I am getting out of this stream is that I am attempting to teach my dad how to play this, so that way he has more fun when we try to play it as a family. So I'm gonna go ahead and actually just use this to try to get a buttload of food, so that way we might be able to do Great Blue Heron into Bald Eagle, into pick up a bunch of food, so that way we can do the puffin. That if we can combo that off, I would feel really good about that. And if not, if we just end up with enough fish that we just go straight into puffin, I'm pretty happy. So right now, no, Bruno, happy to have another person. Yes, absolutely. If we may end up doing a Wingspan charity stream in the future, and if you want to be a part of that, then I absolutely would be down for it. We need as many players for that event as possible. This is just a single player thing though, so that way we can just like, if I need to take a break between games, that I can without abandoning anybody on the multiplayer side. But yeah, I love this game. I think it's awesome. If you want to play multiplayer with us online, Bruno, then you're more than welcome to. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out later. The main focus here is can we figure out a way to communicate to my dad ways to think about this game so that he gets less overwhelmed by it. But yeah, it can be an overwhelming game though, because if you don't have a particular good use case for the things that you're looking at, I don't know if you're supposed to know what you're supposed to do, because there's no like, it's not chess or whatever. Like, the game is complicated. It's got a lot of moving parts. I think one of the moving parts here that we're going to use is we're going to attempt to reset the bird feeder into a fish. So I'm going to click this. I'm going to take this bad boy. I guess we have enough worms nominally on our cards that maybe I should take another worm. Yeah, I'll take another worm. But then you see we still have a second die that we can take from the feeder. I don't want any of these stupid things. They're all the same. And I desperately want fish to do cool stuff with, or a rat plus a buttload of fish here. No! Why are you like this? Dice, why do you betray me? We might have enough food to do this anyway, though. Northern Harrier, bummer. That's a really good card, honestly, especially early in the game. But that's another part of the tension of engine builders, is that as our engine gets more and more efficient, your evaluation on things like those should actually kind of go down. So let's do a little bit of math here just to double check. I think we are unfortunately 1 fish short. I think we needed to hit a fish in order to be able to do heron into bald eagle here. That is a ridiculous one too, though. Oh my god. All right, maybe we audible here. Maybe we use the blackbird, because this is a disgusting meadow that we've set up here, honestly. Yeah, this is really good. So here, the blackbird, it's only worth 2 points, and so the longer we wait on this card and the less that we actually activate it, the less that this is worth in total. You really do need to use the cards that have an activated ability to get good value out of them. Otherwise, you really should probably just be playing expensive high point birds at the end of the game. That's just a very powerful way to do stuff then. But we're not quite there yet. We have 3 turns left in this round 3. And then we have 5 turns in round 4, which means that we have a lot of opportunities to use the blackbird to generate a buttload of points, like just a ridiculous number. If we find another bird that might be nice to play into here, it wouldn't be bad. Maybe we'll hold out hope for one of the AI resetting the bird feeder and giving us some fish to pick up. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and activate this guy. I'm going to hold on to this food just in case, because we're going to be generating so many extra eggs that I don't think we need to do it at the moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to add, I guess we'll add one here to make sure this is included. Bruno, I know you mentioned that you were a board game designer, but I didn't know, if you owned the publisher. That's cool, man. Like, I love board games. I would say they're probably like the type of content that I would love to be making consistently if I had the time and patience to make them. To make like just this kind of stuff, but like the fact of the matter is I also desire bear paws. I like 4X's. They're crazy. They're one of the craziest genres. Oh no, we're gonna be out of egg slots if we don't do something to try to play some cards. So maybe we have to figure out a way to do heron into bald eagle this turn, or we do heron into puffin. Is there any chance that we're gonna get another fish here? Probably not. All right, bald eagle. Sorry, buddy. Worth a lot of points, but that just doesn't do it for me right now. I'm gonna take a card off the top of the deck here. This is something that changes in my own evaluation over the course of any given game, but sometimes if you see that the cards that are in the river are just not very dangerous to you, and in this case these are all relatively low point cards that are really good when you can activate them over and over again or play them early, but because the game is now more than halfway over, that is not the case anymore. I'm okay actually taking a card off the top of the deck just to get it out of the way. So we have 2 actions left. So we could do grab food and then play heron into puffin. I wouldn't hate that. I mean, if you want to test stuff on Tabletop Simulator, Bruno, like DM me. I'm more than happy to do that, especially if you want to do it as, oh, you god dick, freaking AI. Wait for Walker to discard a bald eagle and then add a bunch of food to the board. But I guess I can't be too furious because now we get to take fish and fish. So I think our plan for the last turn is probably going to be one of the more boring end games that you can take in Wingspan, which is just like playing a bunch of birds into like activating this over and over and over again. But because we have some really expensive birds, I think we might be able to get some interesting late game points anyway. Yeah, let's do some stuff. All right, so we need birds with that nest type with an egg. Right now, we are going to be tying 3 ways. I don't think we have a way to get a third here. No, we don't have a way to get a third here. So we just need to make sure that we don't eliminate any of those, like, as a scoring category. All right, so let's do this first. We're gonna play the Great Blue Heron. It's gonna ask us to discard an egg for it, so we'll burn one off of the Meadowlark. And then we're gonna go ahead and just play another one. Wait, there we go. The Atlantic Puffin. And I guess we'll spend 1 egg off of the black-necked stilt, because that is still an active scoring category. All right, awesome. So we could take Visionary Leader, but I don't think we're going to spend a bunch of turns drawing cards at the end of the game, and we already get 4 points off of this. So we're going to take the Food Web Expert. So that was a 12-point Puffin. That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. But the problem that we will have here at the end of the game is that we only have 18 egg slots. So eggs are the final step in terms of scoring in Wingspan. You get 1 point per egg on your birds on the board. But because there's a finite number of egg slots, you really have to be careful about like how deep you move in. Oh yeah, 11 point because I ate an egg, I guess. But then also 16 point because I played the heron, but then 15 point because the heron also ate an egg. It was a 15 point turn. That was a good turn. That's kind of like what you want your late game turns to look like if you can get them. So we could go ahead and just dive right in here, but I think we have to take at least 1 more draw. Yeah, I think we have to take at least 1 more draw here, because we do not actually have enough egg slots for all of this to do anyway, and we can still use extra cards, because we have a red-winged blackbird here and a purple martin here. So I'm going to go ahead and draw. I'm going to probably look for... We don't have enough food, honestly, to do anything, like, in terms of playing into the meadow, so I'm pretty happy just raw drawing here. Maybe we take a Snipe, honestly, because at least it's worth 3 points if we play it, and we don't have egg slots to do anything else with. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do. Oh my god, the common yellowthroat. This is the most OP thing in the universe. Is Snipe gonna... Oh yeah, it is 7. Yeah, that is a good one. Thanks, Bruno. Yeah, this game is so chill and relaxed that sometimes it's actually still a 5 point because it burns 2 to play it, but a 5 point action when we are going to be running out of the other actions that I would like to be taking instead is still a really good one. Yeah, that's still very... Oh, actually, no. It's even better than that because we have 3 and we don't have the 4th bird here for the scoring category, so I meant to take Wilson's Snipe because I am a very high skill player and was totally paying attention to that. But apparently the Snipe is not worth 5 points. This Snipe is worth 9 because it's going to flip us from not scoring the enclosure to scoring the enclosure. Some bonus cards operate that way where you just get a little bit of extra points for every specific type of bird, and then some of them are thresholds, and the threshold cards are the ones you really need to be trying to get the value out of if you're trying to get value out of them at all. And this, yeah, great. I'm such a high skill player. I'm a genius. Look at me. Ta-da! I did it. But we're gonna burn off an egg off of the red-winged blackbird because you can see here that whenever we tuck, we lay eggs on the blackbird itself. So that we're going to need to clear the space anyway. And then we are clearing a space off of the stilt, so that way there's more things to play this type of thing onto with our meadowlark. But I think this looks like a pretty good end game for us. The only downside is that we're getting 4, 4, 4, so that's 19. Oh no, we're not getting 4. We're getting 5, 5, 5. So we're actually going to overrun on eggs a little bit. But that's not... Oh my god, we're getting 6 actually. So we actually might not want to activate the blackbird twice. I think we activate the blackbird once here. And that's another like nice little thing that you can do in Wingspan, is that sometimes you activate the thing, but you don't fully activate the thing. So we're gonna go ahead and click this. We're not putting eggs on any of these guys, because we want to make sure that we get the most that we can out of this guy, where it looks like we're gonna be pretty grotesquely behind because our cap in the forest, despite starting there, is only 3. That's one of the downsides to playing the inexpensive birds first, is that sometimes they really do have a limit to their power. But I think we have 3 as a scoring bucket, which means we might be able to tie for 3rd place, which at least could get us something in terms of points in the late game. And that's good enough. So yeah, we're gonna do that. And then I think I'm gonna hold the food for next turn. I'm gonna go ahead and discard 1 card to the blackbird, so that way we get not only an egg, but another tucked card for flocking, because that's another source of points. We're gonna activate this. We'll lay an egg on the meadowlark itself. Come down here, and you see this. This is a star nest. Star nests are very powerful in Wingspan because they can accept essentially any type of nest type. They live everywhere. And all of these things that are indicated on the card, the other like really cool part of Wingspan is that almost all of this stuff is literally scientific. Like this is how big their wingspan is. This is the stuff that they eat. These are the biomes that they live in. These are the types of nests that they use. This is how many points they are worth to a monster that turns them into point blenders. All of this is lore accurate. All of it is lore accurate. So we only have 2 turns left, and absolutely nowhere near enough egg slots. So we're gonna cap out on points here, but we'll get to 90-ish or something like that. And then I think I'm gonna do a second run of this, Bruno. I'm gonna take a quick bio break between games, but one of the other things that I want to like help, especially my dad, understand is don't just look for the cards that you have good experiences with. Try to anticipate why the card is giving you a good experience, right? This was the Blacknet Stilt was, I think, a very powerful card for us just because of what it gave us in terms of tempo, what it gave us in terms of action economy early on, and getting extra action economy early on. It really does change the game for, I would say, most players. It's just a lot easier when you have more efficient turns early, and then you focus on the points late, I guess. So oh my god, we're gonna go so far through that we actually, I guess, are not going to even activate the Meadowlark a second time. Yeah, I don't think we're gonna activate the Meadowlark a second time. I'm gonna hold on to this food until the last turn just in case, but we're not tucking for the Blackbird. So this is something where you can just advance through it. I am going to skip the power this time. I'm gonna activate... No, I guess I'm not gonna activate it at all, because if we just discard a food, then we have 4, so I'm just gonna skip the Meadowlark. Thank you for your service. So we'll do that. I'm gonna skip it. And then we'll activate the Martin. The Martin is going to at least tuck a card, and as I said, every tucked card is worth an extra point. And so this is a way for us to continue to get value here in... Wait, choose a card? I did choose a card. I chose a card. Don't lie to me. This is a way for us to still get good value out of this meadow, despite the fact that we didn't build it out all the way. Sometimes it's correct to build it out all the way. You really just have to respond to what's going on the board. And it can be frustrating if you're not emotionally prepared for a game that's going to be complicated, but it can be both complicated and fun, and it can be casual and relaxing. It can be all of these things at the same time, especially if you play digitally with a soundtrack like this. You can do whatever the heck you want to. No slots available. Yes, I am more than aware of that. Alright, Tree Swallow, get out of here. And I guess we'll take a card, and then we'll see if we manage to outscore the AI here. I will say that I have had some really good games with the AI in Wingspan. I've also had some really great games in Wingspan with Winslaya. He's a very strong player, and I'm looking forward to being able to do some streaming there. And then this is like just the final little step. It does these nice little scoring by category, right? So that way you get a feel and an appreciation for what was important over the course of that game. I would say that most of the time these distributions are kind of sort of like this. Like some games you end up with a lot more points in terms of text cards. You're generally going to end up with like, you know, maybe 20 or 30 points in terms of eggs, but it does depend a lot on what's going on the board. And then you really should not neglect scoring points on a bunch of good birds. That's really important. But yeah, I'll be back in about 5-ish minutes, and then I think we're going to be able to do a second game here, because this is the final piece of the puzzle as to why I love Wingspan so much. This game you can play in an hour. Like it's great if you know what you're looking for. Maybe later. I don't know. Stop giving me pop-ups in the middle of a thing, Wingspan. You know I'm not capable of reading English. All right, I'll be right back. Say my biggest complaint about this game, for those of you who own it in real life, is that the eggs look delicious. They look exactly like the sort of object that I want to put in my mouth. They look like little Easter candies, basically. So while the turn comes back to us, I'm just gonna go ahead and take a look at what's going on the board. Looks like a crap ton of like specialization cards came down. That generally is another thing that just sort of encourages you to play inexpensive birds as quickly as possible, so that way we have extra ways to score that. We have 2 berries. That's fine. I would say some of the berries are, yeah, they really do, like, it's absurd. The rest of the game, if you can, like, get a small child to sit still for, I really do think that a 7-year-old could play this game without issue. But if you have a 4-year-old, you probably do not want this game in your house, because they will eat them. Like, I have issues preventing myself from wanting to eat them. So, all right, actually, oh my god, there's some really interesting things going on here. So, what we're going to do is we're going to take a migratory bird. A migratory bird has this sort of, when activated ability, it can move to a different habitat. This is a really powerful thing. It is only useful at migration if it is to the right of all the birds, but this gives you a way to like make different parts of your tableau even stronger as you play. I think in this case, I'm gonna take 3. Do I want to will it or do I want to sandpiper? I don't know. Let's see what we have in terms of points here. So over 65 and habitat with the fewest birds. All right, well this one is sort of in line with this. This basically just says like, yeah, if your thing with the fewest birds ×2. So this could be worth 6 points pretty easily if we're careful. This one it caps out at 6 anyway, so I think given especially the birds that we are offered here, the only one that we could take maybe would be the willet that aligns with the large bird specialist. The other 2 that I'm definitely looking at are not, so I'm gonna go ahead and take ecologist. The only downside here is that of course that means that I'm like sort of committing to playing wide, but I'm okay with that, that's fine. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a berry and a grain, so that way we can play our northern cardinal first, because you see here when activated we get a berry from the supply, not the bird feeder, the supply. That's really powerful because it just sort of ignores the player interactivity of an engine builder and a worker placement. That is something that some people do critique this game for. I do generally like games that have high player interaction, but I think that there really is enough player interaction in Wingspan. Like it needs to be the right amount where there's a competition between the different players over the different elements of the game, while still being, you know, accessible for new people who are not here to chainsaw massacre the map. Like just make a game that's fun and accessible for normal people, and you'll probably do pretty well. All right, we're gonna play the northern cardinal first, so that way we get rapid scaling on food, and we'll ship those 2 out. And I think we're gonna set ourselves up to just immediately feed. I do generally like to be able to discard things, but it does depend on the situation. And in this case, what I want to do is be able to play the sparrow probably into the meadow. Do I want to play I want to play the sparrow into the meadow. I want to play sparrow into the meadow. Then I probably want to play sandpiper into the river. And then I probably want to activate the sparrow to move to the forest. And then maybe even move the sparrow back to the river. Like we're going to do we're gonna do goofball things with our migratory bird. This is one of the best ones too, because it's so cheap. So cheap. So we're gonna take a worm, so that we have a worm for the sandpiper, and then we're gonna activate the cardinal, and we're gonna get a berry for the sparrow. So this looks like a pretty good game too, and it's gonna be one that's gonna primarily follow the same sort of basic heuristics. There are, to be clear, I want to make that clear also to my dad, there are birds that are so powerful that even if they're relatively expensive, that you should still be interested in taking them at the beginning of the game. And that's something where you just kind of you really have to think it out, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you feel about it. Ultimately, I think that this game has a lot of stuff going on in ways that I hope you'll eventually appreciate. We're gonna take a berry here, even though we have a bunch of berries, because I think there's another option here, which would be to just draw the bluebird first. That would, if we drew the bluebird first, then we would have to activate the meadow to get eggs on the cardinal. But I don't even hate doing that, because that means we can play the bluebird into the sparrow, and although you can see the bluebird has no activated ability here, just getting to the second egg slot immediately means that this action is like 50% more efficient every single time. 3 eggs, 100 plus 50% over 2 eggs. Really good deal. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna take the bluebird, and because we have berry worm, we can still do berry worm. And I think that's fine, even passing up on the sandpiper for now, because we should be able to get enough food off of these guys. Yeah, and of course, like, I don't like leaving the chickadee there, but you take what you can in Wingspan. You really do try to get the most out of every single turn, which involves just like a lot of risk triage, honestly. So you can see here that one of the players has played the ruby-throated hummingbird. This symbol right here means that it can be fed with effectively anything, any type of food that can go in there. You don't have to mash 2 together. It's just a part of the game, and this is one of those like cooperative things where everyone gets food. But as I clicked through that thing, it says starting with a player of your choice, which means that you can actually structure it depending on what sort of dice you want remaining and when you want the reroll to happen, and that makes the hummingbird a lot stronger than it looks to be on the surface. Like, you'd think maybe you don't want to be giving resources to your enemies, and that's kind of true, but really only kind of. So here, we do not currently have any eggs, so we cannot double bird, but we can fix that. So let's go ahead and click eggs and drop 2 on the cardinal. So that way our fourth will be playing this, and then I guess the next action will probably be activating that, and then we'll probably want to come back here and grab some amount of food. Not that food. We probably do want worms, but if we don't have it, then I'm happy to mash some berries together to pretend like we had a worm all along. You can conceptualize that Ludo narrative however you want. I don't know how to tell you how we turned 2 berries into a worm. Maybe we sold it on the illicit Wingspan black market, and the hummingbird spots us. This is another thing that we haven't yet really dove into, which is like how to interact with another player having a hummingbird. But like, logically, if another player has a hummingbird and is using it, then you're not going to need as much stuff in the forest, right? Because you're just getting more food generally. So we're gonna play the bluebird first. That's gonna go ahead and use these guys. And then we're gonna play the song sparrow. And here I am going to use the berry because we have dove into. Yeah, it was an intentional joke. I really sometimes I astound myself with the things that I say. I'll just leave it at that. So here we can even, rather than activating the egg immediately, I think what I want to do is actually play the sandpiper here, because we have 3 actions left. So we can play the sandpiper here, activate here to move here, and then activate here to move here. That looks pretty good, honestly, to me. Sometimes I'm not just looking for, like, what are the specific pieces on the board, but simply what is the way that I can get the most out of my current engine. And it's another one of those where it really is situational, and it depends on the specific objects that are on the board. I like some of these other birds, so I'm not even, like, I'm kind of disappointed to be passing up on them. But because we have the ability to move this guy over into the forest to attempt to, I guess, score second place. Wow, how did red get 3 into the forest? They just got really inexpensive, and then I guess they took 2 actions here and then got a bunch of free food off of yellow playing the Hummingbird. So yeah, all right, they're gonna crush the first round, but it looks like we should be able to score second, which at least is gonna knock 2 players down a couple of points, and that's pretty good too. All right, so like I said, we're gonna activate this first. Doesn't look like it matters where our eggs are. In real life, don't put them on the song sparrow first, not because it's like not meta, but the song sparrow is going to move around the board a lot, and as the song sparrow moves around a lot, you'll realize, oh my god, the fact that I have to pick up these eggs is extremely frustrating right now. But that's one of the advantages of playing digitally, is that you don't have to worry about meta conversations about, is this object annoying to interact with or not. It's fine. It's a song sparrow. And this honestly doesn't even look bad, because here's a Clark's Nutcracker. There's also a gray catbird. That could be really good if we manage to get it into the meadow here. A catbird being able to copy like another bird that lays eggs can be really strong. We don't currently have anything that does that. But we could use the catbird to copy the sparrow. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a card randomly at first, even though there are a couple of birds that I like here. I'm going to take a great crested flycatcher off the top. So this is gain a worm from the birdfeeder if there is one. That's obviously like worse than gaining a food straight from the supply, because sometimes you can miss with birdfeeder points. But this is a 5-point bird for 2 food, and that could be pretty useful in the mid and late game. And now I kind of have to decide if I want a catbird or if I want to take the mallard, because we do have a draw already here in the spotted sandpiper. I guess I'm going to take a catbird. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw the second card off the top of the deck. And then I guess I'm gonna actually see if the AI takes the catbird first, because they could potentially do that with the way that I structure this. But I'm gonna go with this first. We're gonna draw. Oh, it's from the deck. Walker, read the card. Reading the card explains the card. That's okay. I don't really need the catbird that badly. But this is actually honestly better, because this gives us more like point economy in the river. I'm a genius. I meant to do all of this. Believe it. So what we're going to do is next round, we're going to attempt to get as many birds out onto the board as quickly as possible. And the catbird really wouldn't have been useful there either, because the next scoring category is just as many birds as you can get. So let's do that. Let's get as many birds as we can get. Oh, there's a bush tit. That's also ridiculous. Jesus Christ. This is a turn. This is an entire mood here, honestly. All right, so what do we have? I guess what we have is a setup to try to get the gull, and then use the gull and the sandpiper to draw the bush tit and maybe a card off the top of the deck. Yeah, this is a card that I hope does not get us demonetized on this stream. I hope that if YouTube hears me say bush tit, that it understands that this is a bird. If not, I don't know. I'll email Wingspan, I'll email Stonemeyer and ask them to defend me. But I think this is fine. I think this is the right plan. I think we'll try to activate here. One of the nice things about ring-billed gull is it can use literally any food to feed itself. And then you can see the bush tit we need a worm and a grain for. So I'm going to go ahead and dig for those. Unfortunately, neither of them are here. We have to take something else. But that could be something that goes into the ring-billed gull. So, the gull does gull stuff. Let's roll. And it looks like we're going to get a worm. All right, great deal. So we get that. I think we want to move... We still have 4 eggs. So the bush tit kinda doesn't want this spot locked, and we're gonna be playing the gull here next turn. Maybe we're not moving the sparrow. Maybe we don't move the sparrow this turn. Yeah, I think we're gonna hold the sparrow for one more turn. We will skip that power. We'll gain a berry from the supply. And now we still need one more food in order to double bird here, but we can do the gull into here, then activate this to pick up some stuff, and then we might even get an extra food along the way from somebody activating the hummingbird. Bruno says, do you know that penguins excrete a liquid fat to cover their feathers and make them impenetrable to impermeable and retain heat? I did not, but I am thrilled to learn these things. There's so much that I don't know in terms of like science, because of I don't know, like because of my fundamental nature. I attempt to not learn things from my parents whenever possible, and they are both naturalists by training and vocation. So the holes in my own science knowledge are astonishing and would probably horrify you. The oily bird gets the warm. Good. Oily bird. No! You are off! I'm gonna... God damn it! How dare you! Give me like a wingspan in the chat, because the AI took the cards that I wanted just because I left them on the board. The AI did the right thing instead of the wrong thing, and now I am being punished for it. I am offended and disgusted by this behavior. He did. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. That's fine. We will do this because this is still going to give us opportunities to just mulch through the deck. Wing, 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 wing. Let's see. We're going to be able to mulch through the deck in relatively fast order. Yeah, like a short, relaxing match of Wingspan to chill out. I think we still want to get birds into the river, but unfortunately we don't really have a fish engine, so I don't really like using the pelican here. But this is a good one. Well, you got banned for Wingspan? Good. Oh, you got a warning. All right, whatever. Killdeer. All right. So this is a choice that I feel like you must make for yourself at home. Some of the cards in Wingspan are a little unhinged, honestly, like just slightly way too good in comparison to the other ones. And Killdeer is in that zone of being potentially aggressively annoying to play against when you are trying to have fun. But it can also be useful for newer players to have cards that are really powerful, so that way they can like kind of stay in it, like drawing a mythic rare in any sort of magic game or anything like that. So adjust your expectations and behaviors in regards to banning like Killdeer and the Chihuahuan Raven and whatnot. But I think for the purposes of just playing a nice relaxed game at home, you can include them if you want to. I don't think they're offensive, but they are a lot better than the other ones, and a good reason to just be ripping cards off the top of the deck if you don't know what you're looking for. It can be pretty good. I don't know how many times we're going to activate the river, but we'll be activating it at least a couple more times. But now, because we do have the Killdeer, we have an opportunity to make our meadow into a real engine. Remember how last time we had the Dark-Eyed Junco, or the Red-Winged Junco, where like when you activated it, you actually lost a card because you tucked a card to gain an egg? Well, this is sort of like the opposite of that, and that means that if we can find a way to put another card into the meadow, which translates eggs into a different type of resource, that we can sort of make the meadow a full engine all on its own. You don't always have to aim for that, but it can be very powerful to accomplish if the resources are there. The Dark-Eyed Junco is still good. It's not as powerful as the Red-Winged Junco, just because, like, I typically do not want to be tucking cards for just food, but tucking cards for food can still get you value if you're looking for it. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to take... Jesus Christ, we're going to take so many stupid fish. We didn't have any fish, so I didn't take the pelican, but there's a million fish here. So I'm actually definitely doing this. I'm going to activate this to burn off the fish, so that way another player can't take it. We're also looking for grain anyway for the Dark-Eyed Junco. So we'll take one, and then we'll reset the feeder to drive away all of those fish. And then I guess I'm gonna take a rodent for potentially scoring in the mid and late game. There are some really big predatory birds that we haven't seen that use two or three rodents to score, and I think we're going to be dumping a bunch of stuff into the middle row anyway. So I'm going to move the song sparrow down to the river, and then we'll gain a berry from the supply. Yeah, this looks all right. This looks like we got some things rolling. Only at 22 points right now, but I'm not super worried about that. The way that the game works out, you just end up scoring most of your points in the end game most of the time anyway. That's true for most engine builders. I don't know if I want the blue-gray gnat catcher. I think we are just on dump here. Yeah, so let's play the Junco first, so that way we can always have the activation on the killdeer first to get cards to put into the Junco if we need to. And this means that we will have to play the killdeer for a berry and a rat if we do this, but I'm okay with that. I'm fine. Let's see. Let's burn off another egg off of the song sparrow, because we don't have anything that's asking us to have specific eggs on a specific type of nest. And then I think we're going to do just a killdeer expensive here and then probably activate it as the last action this turn. Yeah, that seems correct. And we will have... Oh, actually, let's change this. Let's do a berry and a rat, because we should have an overabundance of berries thanks to our friend the northern cardinal here. Yeah, there we go. Oh, hey, I got a Steam achievement. Move a bird between habitats 5 times in one game. Awesome. And the song sparrow will help us get to 3 here, but we might even be able to get to 4 if we can find a pretty inexpensive river bird to use with the killdeer. I don't hate that either. This looks... Other than the fact that we are missing, like, one final part of the equation here, I want to get... I want to get another either tucking card or laying eggs card here in the middle if we can find it. I'm not going to spend any extra food. We don't really have any reason to care about where our eggs are, so I'm just laying them all here. You guys have fun. We're going to discard an egg off of the killdeer to draw 2. None of these are the cards we're really looking for. I'm really looking, like I said, for either maybe the stilt, because that's sort of an action. Morning Dove is very strong if you can play it early, but I suspect that we are probably late enough into the game that I'm not going to be super excited about playing this. It is extra points every time we activate, because lay 1 egg on this bird, but you can see the Morning Dove is worth 0. And I suspect that we're only going to really want to play like expensive forest birds that are worth a bunch of points if we're going to be playing forest birds at all. Probably want to play at least 1 more, so that way we get 4 points off of Ecologist. But if we play this and then we move the song sparrow back, that's another way we might be able to get up to 4. Oh, hey, I clicked through the animation, but we did manage to get first on that scoring bucket, so that's pretty good. All right, so here we are. We have drawn birds. The Wingspan scythe has apocalypsed these guys, and now we get another potential bite at the apple here. So there's a burrowing owl. There's also a wood duck. This is a really nice one for an early game activation. these are looking for dudes in the river, so it might be useful to play the black-necked stilt, but in order to do that, I think we might want to move the sparrow away first. That seems potentially viable, because I think we're going to need more food. I think we're going to want to be able to play some good, big, expensive cards if we have the opportunity to. Maybe we'll even get the, like, wren into a flycatcher. If we can find 2 worms, I actually don't hate that. Yeah, let's do that. Let's take 1 here. Ooh, a bobwhite. So let's take the bobwhite, and let's take the house wren. And I guess we really do have enough eggs that... Oh no, we need the 3 if we're going to be playing double up here. So yeah, let's keep the egg for that. And we also have the killdeer, so I'm not super worried about what else we're doing. So house wren into flycatcher in the forest is going to require more food than we currently have. So let's move to the forest with the song sparrow. And then I think I'm going to tuck maybe the flycatcher. I think we're going to tuck the flycatcher. And I guess I'm going to go ahead and I'm gonna fish. Yeah, I'm gonna fish for a random card to see if we get another activated that I care about. Lazuli Bunting is pretty nice. We may end up in a situation where we can score off of that. And everyone's gonna draw cards. So oh my god, we got the Screech Owl. Ooh boy. Alright, so all we're really desperate on now is just like a little bit of food. We may want to feed twice, but that feeding twice may look like activate this, use the wren to maybe play the flycatcher, or even just the Screech Owl, and then activate a second time. And then that second time we can discard a card and get 3 foods. We'll have a lot of food here, I think. Yeah, this looks pretty good. So if we do that, we'll move our friend, our little song sparrow, to here, maybe. We're aiming to play cards into the river, so we don't really want to activate. We don't really want to put the song sparrow in the river if we're going to play the black-necked stilt, and I think we want to. So yeah, let's do this. Let's take a worm, because we definitely need worms. And then we'll reset and look for a second one. Awesome, we got it. Yeah, let's take that. And I'm gonna take the one that is actually a split one first, so that way it just denies a little bit of flexibility and value to the other players, right? If I need a tiebreaker between those things, this thing is better for everybody else than this thing. So I'm gonna do the thing that is most rude to the other players. And I think Eileen and my parents can both attest to that. that is lore accurate Walker behavior. So I said that we're going to play here, and then we're going to need to play here in order to get this out, but we need another egg in order to do that. So I guess I'm going to move to the meadow for now, because I think we've just logicked that I have to play that. I have to activate the meadow at least once this round in order to have enough eggs to actually jam. Yeah, I think that's correct. So on our next turn, we're going to be able to play double birds into the forest. Then we'll activate. Then we'll activate. And then we'll play. With 4 turns left. Are we gonna... Oh, we will have enough eggs if we do this first. We're still okay on eggs. We just need food in order to do that, though, so I think we have to do this. Let's do the house wren. And now we have to decide, are we doing the Eastern Screech Owl, or are we doing the Great Crested Flycatcher? The Great Crested Flycatcher is nominally worth 1 more point, but it does cost 1 more food, and it costs a worm that we kind of would rather use for the black-necked stilt. So I'm actually going to take the Screech Owl here. So we're going to discard an egg from the Northern Cardinal. And then I'm going to play the Screech Owl. I'm I'm going to change that over to the rat, so that way we have the worm still available. Yeah, that looks correct. And then I'm going to spend an egg out from, I guess, the bluebird. Yeah, that seems all right. So we've set ourselves up here where we have 3 actions left. We can still do stilt here, then activate the sparrow to move here, and then we'll have 4 in the river. That looks pretty good. This is also looking like it's going to be a pretty good game. But another really important thing that we haven't really talked about yet, but is just critical to remember, because of the presence of the hummingbird and the spotted sandpiper, everyone has way more resources in this game in particular than you can expect in an average game. And so just like with like 4X's, where I tend to feel like having fixed heuristics is mostly not good, I think having fixed heuristics when it comes to Wingspan, like I should, benchmarks in particular, I should have this many points by the end of the game, doesn't really describe what happens in a game of Wingspan particularly well. What happens in a game of Wingspan is a lot more complicated than that. And I'm going to take these 2 because I really don't care about those 2 food types, especially because we're going to be getting grain from activating our meadow thanks to our dark-eyed junco. So we're going to do this. I guess we'll burn off an egg off of the junco. And then none of these are meadow birds, and that's kind of the only thing that we're thinking about at this point, because that's going to be the final scoring bucket. So I'm going to take just random cards off the top of the deck to see if we find anything that's worth a buttload of points. Oh my god. Well, buttload of points, guys. Wow, welcome to the party. I like having these here just so that we have an option to audible into those if we end up with the resources to do that instead of taking the lay eggs action. We seriously have 2 actions left, and we have 34 egg slots here. Do we have any way to get any more eggs onto the board? How many bowl spots do we have? So there's 5 for the lazuli bunting, and there's another 5, so that's 10 for the bunting, and then another 4 on itself, so that's 14 if we can activate the bunting a couple of times. I can't say no to that. I really can't. I want to be able to say no to that. I do want to be able to say no to that, but I really cannot justify it in my mind or soul. So I think we have to play the bunting as part of what we're going to be doing here and have 3,000 egg slots and then figure out how quickly we can fill them. So in order to do this, we do need a worm and a grain. We're going to get the berry for free from our cardinal. So I'm going to take a worm and I'm going to take a grain. I'm going to roll. Generally speaking, like what you'll see in both of those games, you really don't get a lot out of the rolling cards. You mostly just get the card out of the rolling card, and then you might score one or two times with this. You can obviously increase the likelihood of scoring there if you have more dice in the pool, but it just, you know, it's a 1d6. It's a 1 out of 6 chance. If you do 1 out of 6 enough, you'll realize that it's just not the sort of thing that breaks the game most of the time, but that's all right. So we can activate here to move the sparrow to the river, which would get us to 4 birds in the river for this spot and try to get some points there. Yes, thank you, Bruno. You do. You just need to adapt and roll with it. I think this game is going really well, honestly. It's like, oh wait, not you. Your slots are special. Your slots are for the lazuli bunting, but I think we're going to have a lot of random egg points at the end of this game is what it looks like. All right, Song Sparrow is going to move to the river. And then we have to discard an egg to draw 2 cards. But we also don't have enough things to do with those cards, so whatever. Sorry, Killdeer. I know you want to discard cards, but I'm gonna discarding this. Bruno, we need to get you on stream for Wingspan so you could just like dump bad Wingspan puns on humans. This sounds like the best content that could be on this channel, honestly. Get out of here, Flycatcher. I don't need you. We have other cooler things to do. Are we gonna be able to? I guess what we'll do is we'll probably just play the bunting, and then oh man, the sparrows. Why did I move? Oh, I moved the sparrow for this. That's why I moved it. But I suspect we probably are not going to actually want to move. Wouldn't you be punished for it? Not in my house, Bruno. In my house, I'll give you all of the lint in my pocket for doing it. Here I guess we're definitely playing the bunting. I'm currently like agonizing over whether or not it is worth it for us to attempt to find another bird to play into this, considering that we're going to end up with so many egg slots that like we're probably going to run out of efficiencies in terms of scoring this. But if we get any more food from the hummingbird, then I think I'm willing to try it. Let's go with the bunting. We'll discard 2 eggs. I don't think I have any bowl nest eggs anywhere currently filled, right? At least that's what I was trying to do. So yeah, get those 2 out of here. Boom. And now we still have 1, 1, and 1. So if the hummingbird activates again, then we can play the bobwhite, I guess? No, we could play the bunting. I guess it depends on if we get a grain off of the hummingbird, if the hummingbird activates or not. We have 36 egg slots open, and I guess we're here to party. So let's party. 1, 2, 3, 4. We will do this. We'll lay an egg on you, and an egg on you. We will. I don't think I'm gonna discard an egg for drawing 2 cards, considering that we don't need to currently. We may end up doing that at the very end to see if we want an extra card for the Dark-Eyed Junco. But we're gonna keep using the Junco because I guess the bobwhite is probably less likely to be played than the bunting. But anytime you tuck a card, it's worth a point, right? So we want to do that. I also want to play these big expensive birds, but the fact of the matter is that in order to play them, we would have to take a forest action, right? And because that action doesn't really generate points, it's worth like 0. So this is like 4.5 points per turn if we were to just like click a thing and then do the thing. Oh boy. Unless we can play the heron without being forced to go there. Yes, that's what I want to do. So I don't want to have to like get food myself in order to play the heron. That's pretty bad most of the time. But if you can do it with the resources that the other players are providing to you, then we can get an extra like 7 points for doing this, as opposed to this, which is 4, 5, 6, 7 for doing this. It's really identical, but this is also providing extra points to other players by allowing them to take eggs themselves. So it is better for us to do the non-cooperative thing if we can do it. So yeah, let's be non-cooperative. That's my spirit. that is my spirit. Let's be non-cooperative. Let's introduce all sorts of competitive sources of whatever into whatever. I think that's fun. We're at 70 points right now, so I think we're going to end up with a pretty good score here too. But we're definitely not going to come anywhere near close to maxing out these eggs. I think we're going to get like, what, 7 eggs twice, so we'll have 20 eggs instead of 40. And that's where like going over on egg stuff can catch up to you, right? If you've built an engine that cannot quite fill itself, then Harry will make fun of you after school. That's the most important lesson here. You want to avoid my little brother making fun of you. All right, let's go for an egg on the cardinal and an egg on the bunting. That seems okay. I'm not going to discard any eggs here. It's the same deal. I'm gonna go ahead and tuck the bunting because I don't think we're playing this turn. We're just getting extra points. And then we do one more activation. So yeah, I guess we actually only hit 19 eggs. No, 18 eggs. Yeah, we're gonna be pretty short on eggs versus egg slots. So we could have potentially even avoided playing this, but sometimes those big birds are big. It's never a bad thing to be doing. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sure. Yeah, that's fine. We'll do that. Then we'll do this again, get ourselves some more points. And though this is something where it is symmetrical, it's symmetrical and the other players just might not have set up to make use of our ability despite it being, public information. Sometimes it's correct to just do the thing that is best for you, regardless of what else is going on the board. And if that means you don't get as much value out of the cooperative things as the person who played them, don't be surprised. Oh no, the dicks, he tied with us. That means we didn't get the full points here. All right, I guess we'll see if 84 is enough to win this game. I tend to find that although, there are pretty wide differences in terms of outcomes, that you want to get in the 80s or 90s most of the time. That's usually a pretty good way to get to a winning score. Did we get it? Don't beat me. Don't daze me, bro. You gotta be kidding me. We tied. All right. Well, we tied with that AI this time. But that's I think how you want to be playing the game primarily, is just try to play to the board. Sometimes there are specific things like the Song Sparrow that you find where there's like a lot of power there and you want to experiment. I live kind of near an airport, so I apologize if you can hear the plane flying around in the background. But if people really like Wingspan, and want to watch me stream some Wingspan on occasion too, we could maybe work that in somewhere along the way. Main goal on the channel really is gonna honestly have to be Humankind for the immediate future, because that game keeps me up at night. But I love Wingspan. I love the music and the vibes in this, and if you like Humankind and other engine builders, you should definitely check this game out. And if you like Wingspan and you are interested in exploring other forms of engine building, I honestly would very strongly recommend Humankind. I think it's one of the best 4X games designed. It's also not finished, and so if you want to know more about that, then watch the Humankind content. But I think it's a great game, and if you want to interact with chat more, then Bruno, one of our constant survivors here on the stream, actually is the designer of the VIP mod. So if you play Humankind and want to complain about things in VIP, just show up and harass Bruno. All right, I guess for now that's Walker here on We Play Games. All right, take care.